Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Emily Marquise. I'm an organizer with OPEIU Local 277 in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm here today with OPEIU President Tyler Turner and OPEIU Local 153 Secretary Treasurer Nick Gallipo. I've had the immense honor of working alongside interpreters from Sorensen and ZP Better Together over the course of the past year in their historic effort to form their union. The ASL Interpreters Union, formed to fight back against the disastrous impact private equity ownership has had on the vital service that they provide to thousands of deaf Americans every day. Despite a history of retaliation for organizing, interpreters across the country have built a network of solidarity that stretches from Texas to California to right here in DC. The interpreters and deaf users of VRS that you're going to hear from today are not just fighting for a voice in the VRS industry, they are fighting for the future of their profession and for the deaf community at large. I am so excited to welcome up here, our first speaker, someone that is no stranger to organizing in hostile environments, and someone that has unequivocally stood with working people and the American labor movement, Congressman Greg Casar.
Thank you. Good morning, buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
I'm Greg Casar. I'm proud to represent the heart of Texas in the United States Congress. I was proudly a labor organizer before ever being an elected official, and still a proud union member. And the first thing I want to say to all of the interpreters watching at home, to everybody here, is thank you so very much for fighting for not only your profession, but fighting for your clients, fighting back against a skewed vision of America where a few private equity billionaires get everything while everybody else gets screwed over. You are taking part in an important American tradition of coming together and just demanding that the world be a better place. And you proudly forming this union, I think, is deeply American and deeply inspiring in these troubled times. So thank you so very much. I also want to tell you that the services you provide every single day to deaf Americans make our civil rights laws real. Things that people fought and bled for. The right for every single person, every one of our family members, deaf or not, to be able to call a doctor, to be able to call 911, to be able to make sure that they don't get screwed over by a company when they are making a phone call, to make sure they can make a sworn statement. These basic things you all do every single day. And right now, unfortunately, in Washington, D.C., there are a small number of billionaires and their lobbyists that every time they see a service for the American people, they don't see the people it helps. They see a piggy bank that they can loot for themselves. And y'all have united and said, no, your lives and your career are not the piggy bank for some Wall Street billionaire. And the people who in our community who are deaf and hard of hearing are not your guinea pig or your piggy bank either. So you are taking the brave step that is so critical that everybody needs to be taking right now in this country, is forming your union, standing up for your rights, and standing up for the people that you serve. That's what nurses are doing who are organizing for their patients. That's what federal workers are doing right now who are organizing to protect our vital federal services like our healthcare and our Social Security. And that's exactly what you're doing today. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. So that was my first message, is thank you. My second message is to the American people to know that when unions organize and fight, and that when these interpreters are fighting against the billionaires that are taking over our economy and your government, that they are doing it not just for yourselves, but for all of us. We never know when tragedy is going to befall us. We never know when we're going to need someone else's help. And these services actually are a lifeline for people deaf and hard of hearing or not. I need my deaf and hard of hearing constituents and neighbors and family members to be able to call 911 and be well understood. We badly need that. We all depend on it. And we cannot have a few private equity billionaires crushing those services, working people so hard and so long that they can't actually get to their calls. We can't have people making mistakes and then fearing for their jobs. We need this service to be healthy. And in fact, there is plenty of money to do it. The question is it going to go to the interpreters and their clients and the American people, or is it going to go to the profits of a few extra wealthy people? And I know that the vast majority of the American people agree with you that this money should be going to providing those vital services. So my first message is thank you for organizing. My second message is that the American people need this organizing. And my third message is, even though they may have all this money, we actually have power. You all have a lot of power. I, as a member of Congress, didn't know about how vital this service was and how much these private equity billionaires had crushed the small businesses that did this work and consolidated into just two companies where they could screw workers and clients. I didn't know that. But it was interpreters yourselves. Some of you here from Texas that I recognize that called me, met with me, Zoomed with me and my staff, and said, this is an emergency, held your elected officials accountable, held me accountable and asked those hard questions. And then I went and wrote a demand to the FCC commissioners to say, let's have a first of its kind ever public meeting where interpreters and the users of the service can tell you what's actually going on in the world. And they had to agree, and that hearing is happening. We are going to have that public meeting, which we have never had before. Again, thanks to your organizing. Thanks to what it is that you did. So I thank you for not just fighting for your own rights, fighting for your own profession, but fighting for this country. What OPEIU has been able to do as a union in sector after sector is make sure that we actually meet the promise of American democracy in the workplace and in the halls of power. And so you organizing with OPEIU and pushing your members of Congress will win the day. Because if I were to pick one side of the fight and be on the side of a few private equity billionaires or the overwhelming number of the American people fighting for people's basic civil rights, fighting for fair wages at work, fighting for a profession with dignity, I know which side I'd want to be on, and that's the side that you are on. So I will be fighting alongside you every single step of the way. Action inspires action. Courage inspires courage. By fighting, you're inspiring all of us across the country. Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Congressman Casar. Hi, my name's Meg. I have a deaf husband and a deaf daughter. I've been a certified interpreter for the past 15 years, and I've been with Sorensen for 10. I'm here because I want Sorensen to change. A year and a half ago, I started noticing my daughter struggle to use VRS. My daughter is fluent in ASL, but Sorensen has limited her ability to communicate through VRS with their detrimental business practices. Today, I stand before you not just as a mother and a wife, but as a voice for countless American Sign Language interpreters across this nation who dedicate their lives to ensuring that the deaf and hard of hearing community members can communicate, connect, and thrive. I'm here to ask you to support our VRS unionization efforts, a cause that goes beyond wages and benefits. It's about dignity, it's about justice, and the future of equitable communication for deaf Americans. Everywhere people reside, deaf people reside as well, all over the globe. As interpreters, we build bridges between the deaf and hearing communities every day. Yet despite the immensely critical nature of our work, our struggles are invisible. We face rising demands, vicarious trauma, and stagnant wages. with companies that lean heavily on our skills but refuse to support our needs, reaping all the profits that we have earned laboring for them. I'd like to share what a typical shift might look like, as well as emphasize the range of topics and content interpreters routinely navigate throughout our shift. We might get a call from the bank. As soon as we hang up, 5 seconds later, we get a call to a mechanic's shop, immediately followed by a parent-teacher conference. And then a 911 call might pop up, where we witness trauma, and when the call is over, we are expected to jump back in as business as usual without taking time to assess our own state of mind. We are the voice for thousands of deaf citizens from all walks of life: deaf doctors, deaf lawyers, engineers, teachers, small business owners, deaf nonprofit organizations, and everyday regular people like my family. Our experiences range from the most mundane calls to the most intimate moments in someone's life, where we are entrusted with highly sensitive information, such as social security numbers and banking information from our deaf customers. We implore the FCC to recognize that our fight for unionization is not a threat, but an opportunity. An opportunity. An opportunity to support interpreters. An opportunity to strengthen the VRS system. An opportunity to retain talented interpreters. An opportunity to elevate the quality of service for deaf and hard of hearing communities that rely on us all over the United States of America. I imagine a future where interpreters can focus solely on their craft without fear of burnout, without fear of financial instability, without fear of unsafe working conditions. I imagine a future where the communities we serve experience seamless communication because their interpreters are not only highly skilled, but supported, respected, and empowered. Unionization is not just about interpreters. It's about protecting the integrity of our VRS system and our deaf consumers' rights, my family's rights. A stable, satisfied workforce ensures consistent, high-quality service. Without it, we will continue to risk a revolving door of interpreters, compromising the very standards of communication that the FCC has pledged to deaf citizens to uphold. The FCC has always been a champion of accessibility. The FCC has fought for equity in communication, and now I humbly ask the FCC, I'm asking you to extend that fight to us. Stand with the interpreting community. Stand with the deaf community. Support our union and send a clear message to VRS companies that the interpreters who ensure access to communication are just as important as the technology that delivers it. Stand in support of deaf Americans like my husband and daughter, who have a right to participate in society. A right. 90% of deaf children are born to hearing parents who do not know ASL. It's not if you will need an interpreter, it's when. When that time comes, we will graciously answer your call and walk you across that bridge. Let this moment be a testament to the power of unity, equity, and respect for all individuals, deaf and hearing, who dedicate their lives to breaking down barriers. Together, we can ensure the promise of equal access to communication is not only upheld, but strengthened for generations to come. Thank you for your time, your consideration, and for believing in the power of our hands and voices.
Good morning, everyone. Hello, my name is Derek Braun, and I am a professor at Gallaudet University. I am also the president of our chapter of the American Association of University Professors, AAUP. AAUP is a labor organization and is affiliated with the AFT, the American Federation for Teachers, which is also a part of the AFL-CIO. The reason that we established a labor organization at Gallaudet University is because we wanted to be more involved in the decisions that were made at the university level, so that faculty could have a voice in the administrative decisions to run the university. This is something that we see everywhere, not just at Gallaudet University, but for laborers across the country, where they are not involved in decisions that are being made by administrators who simply don't have the boots on the ground to know what decisions need to be made. All they see are numbers on a spreadsheet, and they make decisions for financial reasons. But with labor organization, we can help laborers understand better the situations that confront administrators and work together toward equitable decisions. I stand here in front of the FCC in unity with our interpreter colleagues to give voice to these issues. It is important for us to demand accountability, equity, and justice. And as AAUP president, I am very proud to support the ASL Interpreters Union. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Felix. I am an interpreter at ZP, and I've been an interpreter for over 5 years now, but I have been signing for most of my life. I have been involved with the deaf community since I was a child, and I've come from New York today to speak with all of you about how vital it is that the FCC support the formation of our union for VRS interpreters. When a deaf individual needs to make a call, we are there. We are there for every moment, the good and the bad. We have the honor and the privilege to be a part of so many different conversations. We might be interpreting an intimate conversation between somebody's loved ones, telehealth, conference calls, legal matters, or a 911 call. VRS interpreters have to be versed in all of these different areas and process all of these different calls in a given day. I love my job, and I want to be able to do it for the next 30 to 40 years. How the VRS companies are currently being run leaves interpreters exhausted and ultimately impacts the quality of services that we can provide for the deaf community. The high-paced, high-volume nature of VRS calls leads to stress, vicarious trauma, and burnout. Without the proper care in place for interpreters, there won't be any of us left. Interpreters handle hundreds of calls a day and interpret with very minimal breaks compared to our counterparts in the community. Under private equity, this has gotten worse. We are hunted to unrealistic metrics, and we are inadequately staffed. For the last several years, they tried to schedule us with a skeleton crew to squeeze the most profit possible out of every interpreter. Like it was said earlier today, we are seen as a piggy bank for these companies. They do not see us as people. We are seen as numbers in a queue, just taking the next call after the next call. We want these companies to not only prioritize the interpreters that they have, but retain us. The companies consider our break time to be any time not spent interpreting. However, we are not getting rest during this time. We have numerous tech issues. We are told to answer emails, to complete our trainings, all during our break time, which begs the question, when do interpreters ever have a break in VRS? Furthermore, most of the interpreters in VRS are part-time employees. Very few of us are full-time employees with benefits, meaning that we are forced to work whenever we are sick because we do not have the time available to take off of work. We are forced to try to continue working in order to make ends meet, all while trying to provide the best service possible while struggling ourselves. A union isn't just a matter about fairness for interpreters. A union is about ensuring meaningful access for the deaf community. Inaccurate interpretations can have serious consequences for the deaf community as far as their healthcare, employment, education, and other essential services which are impacted. We are fighting today to give interpreters the power to address the daily harm that private equity firms have caused on the interpreting and the deaf communities. Personally, I am fighting for all of the callers that I interpret for and for my colleagues in VRS. VRS could be such an incredible service. We have the opportunity to connect with so many different callers from across the nation on a daily basis. And I cannot be silent knowing that this service that so many depend on could be so much better if interpreters had a voice at the table, which would be guaranteed by a union. The FCC has a long history of supporting the deaf community. By supporting the right of ASL interpreters to form a union, they can further demonstrate their commitment to this fundamental service. They can help to create a system that only protects the rights of interpreters, but ensures high-quality interpretation services 24/7. Commissioner Gomez has stepped up, but it is important for the other commissioners on the FCC to also support us, both Democrat and Republican. I urge the FCC to publicly support the rights of ASL interpreters and ask that you use your influence to encourage VRS providers to meet with us in good faith through OPIU so that we can form our union. Let us work together to build a future where communication through VRS is truly accessible, reliable, and equitable for all. Thank you.
Okay, can we hear it for the people that spoke today? So powerful. Thank you so much to everyone that is here and everyone that's joining on the live stream. And this would not be an OPEIU or union event if we didn't end it on a chat. So when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win.